All right. We are back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Would like to apologize for the gap, but we had some life stuff happen, and then we had some timing issues with getting some people on, but we did a really good job this week, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for being so patient. We're here to stay. First, we have to tell you that we're not going away. Like you said, some life stuff came up, but BRNDD is here. BRNDD is here, and I think that this is a great return. We interviewed producer, rapper, Zulu. I'm gonna say rapper producer because I don't like to. He's a rapper first.
Yeah, and he
really
speaks on himself. Yeah. Great guy, from Baltimore. Talked about his experiences making music and growing up and the challenges of finding his lane in music, being considered an outcast in general and music being his gravitational pull to something positive for himself.
Yeah, man.
He had a lot of interesting background that, I didn't even know about, like him going on tour with Blu. So if you're into the underground music scene, you know who he is.
Blu and J Davey.
Yeah, J Davey too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And, talks about rebranding himself and changing his name and representing what he is now. Mm-hmm. And, moving to Chicago, coming back and recording in the same space that Chance recorded his first project in. So we get into a lot of good stuff, man.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I really want to just shout out everybody that's been listening so far. You guys been really supportive. I love the feedback. You guys are motivation to us to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And specifically, my mother, I want to shout her out because she is a big fan, and she recently released her jewelry line, Jewelry by Danielle Nicole. Had her first event, and Ron showed up and he had a conversation with her. She was like, "So am I branded now?" So yes, you are. We're giving you the official stamp.
Right. I supported it. She made some good stuff. My girlfriend actually wore one of her pieces the other day. She loves it, and continues to wear it. So she's making good stuff. Appreciate it.
You can find it on Facebook, and I believe she has an Etsy shop set up as well. So if you want to order some stuff, do that. My girl Special, that's out in San Francisco. She does radio out there and does some YouTube stuff. Special Education was her first series that she done, so she interviews a lot of different artists and gets some real good background on them. And right now she's doing Director's Cut, which is her new series. So she's been really supportive, giving us feedback on what we've talked about and actually consider us one of her favorite podcasts. So
thank you so much. Yeah. That's incredible. Jordan Jackson for putting us on the Zulu.
Yes.
And he actually becoming our guest. So a first guest suggests another guest. Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it.
We do love it, appreciate it. And, like I said, keep giving us feedback. Leave us comments on, on SoundCloud, iTunes, any platform that you listen to. Email us if you have any suggestions for some guests. Do that. Also, I want to kind of continue this branded stamp thing. So if you guys have any stories that you want to share with us, we'll try and get to read it and share it with everybody else because it's important to inspire other people and inspire each other.
Yeah, man. It's important. People are special. Your stories are great and they inspire people, whether you know it or not. And people just hearing it, they can align with it. There might be some elements that connect you that you might not know. Like I found out that this dude and I basically had a similar high school experience.
Right.
And, people just need to know that there are other people in the world that exist that are on a similar trajectory. You know what I mean? And this show is doing that for people, I believe. Right. It's doing it for me, at least.
Yeah. And that's why I want to, keep continue to doing what we're doing and keep pushing it. So then our guests that are lined up, they're really good. And I think you guys are going to get some good content out of it. So I'm excited about the future of the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The brand is strong.
But yeah, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it.
Cool.
All right, welcome back, everybody. What we on 4 now?
4.
Yeah.
Lucky number 4. Is that a luck thing or?
I don't know.
We here.
Yeah,
we here.
Anyway, we made it. So back again. Got a new guest.
Yes.
Peace.
Son Zulu.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
I'm great. I'm living. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Definitely appreciate you coming, man.
Yeah. So, explain who you are, man. What you do.
Well, you know, my artist name is Son Zulu. I'm from Baltimore, 27 years old. I'm an MC, a producer. I also do youth mentor work. And, you know, I'm trying to enjoy life, you know, live to the fullest.
That's dope, man. So the first thing I noticed when I was listening to your music is it has some boom bap, it has some old school hip hop sound to it. It also fused with some newness to it. So what are your influences music wise?
Well, I would say my brother first is my biggest influence because my brother's a DJ. His name's DJ Bishop.
Okay.
But, my first memory is of my brother DJing and playing Wu-Tang, Cream, and I can literally remember, like, you know, creeping in his room and seeing him with these records. And this is like the early 90s because I was born in 89.
Okay.
So, you know, like that, he was like my first influence. And from him, you know, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Nas, all those, you know, great artists taught me how to, you know, express yourself in a profound way over dope tracks, you know. So, you know, those were my earlier influences, but as I got older, you know, all types of music, you know, were really my influences because, you know, my parents, they also they love music, you know what I mean? They have a lot of music around the house. So it's like, you know, groups like Earth, Wind and Fire, you know what I'm saying? Like everything you could think of.
Right.
Under the sun, you know what I mean? Like that music in and of itself is probably like my greatest motivation, just to hear and create dope stuff.
Dope. So what was your first album that you purchased? Yourself.
Man.
First one you purchased yourself.
Wow. Okay, so I get a little backstory because like this was like around when I turned 10.
Okay.
And this is before I bought my own record. I'm gonna get to it, but my father, he had bought Jay-Z's The Dynasty for me for my birthday. And my mother did not like it. My mother was really mad that I had Jay-Z record. You know, I was listening to hip hop. She took it from me. It was the night of my birthday. I was in my bed. I remember I was like, yes, I'm good. I'm listening, and I didn't even get to the end of the album, and it was just gone. You know what I mean? So that actually made me, you know, explore hip hop more, listen to Rap Attack on the radio, all that stuff. You know, just record it. And by the time I hit 12, 13, you know, I literally, because you know, I grew up near Morgan State University. Okay. So I literally walked from my house to Record and Tape Traders in Towson. And I bought...
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I walked up there. I really... Because I bought 4 albums that day. And these were the first albums I ever bought myself. It was Illmatic, God's Son, Ready to Die, and Life After Death. It was those 4 albums. I remember.
That's insane. Yo... To connect this conversation, you know, my first albums I ever bought were Illmatic and Totally Crossed Out in 94.
Oh, wow.
I'm 33. I'm a little older. Not too much older, but I'm a little older. That's dope, man.
Yeah, so, you know, at that point, I guess you're about, you said 12. So
yeah.
Going into middle school, what was that like for you?
Well, see, I had already actually begun writing rhymes when I was like 9.
Okay.
So like, I remember my first rhyme that I ever wrote was about time and how we never have enough time. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, I just kept writing, and by the time I got to middle school, that was when I formed my first group. So I had a group with 3 of my other classmates, and it's important because it didn't last, but it was me and one other person. We stuck with it. And I guess I'll get to that, you know, later on. But middle school was probably like the most formative years for me as far as like hip hop goes. Like the Nas versus Jay-Z battle, that was like the hot topic of the day. Like how Drake and Meek Mill is now, like, you know, that was back then. It was Nas and Jay-Z.
Right.
And like that's all we did was like, if it wasn't video games, it was hip hop. That's what we was talking about. So you know, like middle school, that really like set me on the path, made me feel like, all right, music is what I really want to do. Like deep down inside, this is what I want to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I was actually reading your bio, and around that time, you did a book report on Nelson Mandela.
Oh yeah. So okay, yeah. This is around the same time. Nelson Mandela. At the time, he was still in jail or he was about to get out of jail. And I just remember like when I read his story, and it's kind of the same with Malcolm X. When I read his book, when I transferred from the school that I was at to St. Francis Academy.
You went to St.
Yeah.
I went to St. Francis.
Oh, that's what's up. Oh, snap. It's a small
Oh, boy. This is nuts.
Yeah. So like, just seeing his conviction, you know what I mean, and what he stood for, and the way he fought. I mean, he was in jail for most of his life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have a strong will to last for what you stand for. You know what I'm saying? And when people throw you into a cage, you know what I'm saying? They literally throw him into a cage. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that's always been inside of me. You know what I mean? And I feel like I use music as a vessel to get that across.
Okay, that's dope,
you know
man.
What I mean?
Is Mr. Huddleston still there?
Well, see, when I went to St. All right, so I'm not saying I was a problem child, but I did get into a lot of trouble when I was a teenager because I went to Calvert Hall. That was the first high school I went to, and I went there for 3 years. But I always felt like I was an outcast, and I always felt like no one really understood that, you know, I want to do this music thing because there really were no programs at the school for that. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, why are you not participating? Like, you know, like you should participate, but you know, there's nothing here for me really. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just got to a point where every little thing I did started to become magnified. Like I got suspended one time because I wrote "I hate this school" in my notebook. I was like, I was on a notebook, and my religion teacher came by, and he looked at my book and took my book from me and was like, "You're in trouble. I'm going to tell the blah blah blah," and I really got suspended for that. So that's the kind of stuff that goes down. Yeah. And I just ended up, you know, getting kicked out of the school. Yeah. And I ended up at St. Francis my senior year, which is 2007. Okay. So yeah, like St. Francis Academy, they gave me a second chance, and I feel like that's something that music, if it wasn't for music, I would have ended up, I wouldn't have had the will to go to St. Francis. Like I was like, let me go to this school, you know what I mean? And I can write, I can finish the school first, you know, and I can write my rhymes and all that. And then like once I graduate, then I can go ahead, you know what I mean? Because every other school rejected me. And it's weird when you hear that because you're like, oh, you went to Calvert Hall and all that, like, but every other school literally was like, nah, we're okay. It's not like my grades were bad. It's just like the timing of it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it's crazy listening to
I sat out for that year until I could get in, you know, the next year to another school, I would have been in the streets. Yeah. I literally would have been in the streets. That would have been like my option, like you know, forget it. But
that's insane. Yo, so I applied to Calvert Hall. I got kicked out. I went to St. Francis my freshman year. I got kicked out. I went to Carver Center for Arts and Technology in Towson. I got kicked out. Then I went to Towson High School and graduated. So our stories are kind of weirdly
similar. Yeah.
Similar. Okay, so here's an interesting question, man. So prior to being called Sun Zulu, you had another name,
right?
Black Sun,
right?
Yeah. So explain how that happened, and actually have a follow-up question once you finish.
Okay. Yeah. So the Black Sun, that came from, you know, my past influences with Wu-Tang and all that. Like I really, at that time in my life, I was really like feeling like I could take that, what they did, and take it to like another level, but make it more personal. So I actually got with another Baltimore artist. We had actually been rapping the whole time together. His name was 810.
Okay.
And he goes by the name McKeldin now, and he's actually in Dallas with Never Satisfied, which is, you know, shout out to them. But you know, at the time, we decided, yo, like, let's really do this music. Like, let's really, you know, try our hardest to be as successful as we can be. And at the time, blogs were like really popping. So like Two Boys, Ill Roots, like those blogs were like really popping. And this was like 2008, around that time. So like we were releasing projects and we were trying to get on these blogs, and then one day it just happened. You know what I'm saying? So like when that happened, like everything changed. Like we started like doing shows. We went on tour with other artists like Blu, J Davey.
That's
crazy. We did a lot of stuff.
Incredible.
Wow.
And Blu's incredible.
Yeah, so like, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I did a lot with the Black Sun, but I eventually got to a point where I felt stagnated. I felt like I was trying to be something, not necessarily that I wasn't, but I was becoming something that the Black Sun didn't represent anymore. So, and this is like in 2012. I actually, it was 8 and I, we were on tour. We were on the Under Armour 3rd Rail Jam. And when I got back from that tour, I was like, I can't be in Baltimore anymore. And I kind of went on an exodus, I guess you could say. I went to Chicago and I worked on a project, which, you know, I guess I'll get to later, but I worked on a project and I saw all the programs that were out there. So in case, you know, your listeners don't know, there's the Central Library out there. It's called the Harold Thurman Library, I believe. And it's like 11 stories. And in the basement, there's this room with every type of instrument you could think of. It's a booth, a MacBook, and this is 2012 when I went, so they probably upgraded by now. But you know, they had like a nice gold-plated mic and everything. And as long as you're between the ages of 11 and 17, you could use it for free.
What?
Yes. You could use it
that
for
might
free.
have been the same place Chance recorded his first.
Actually, it is.
Okay.
What?
And I found that out later.
That's incredible.
When I saw it for myself, I was like, why is this not in Baltimore? So I kind of started, you know, gravitating towards, you know, youth work. I have a friend out in Chicago. His name's Adam Levin, and he works with the young Chicago authors. He does a lot. There's another MC. His name's Ad 2. He's pretty dope. But they just showed me like the path, you know, through, you know, youth work, how you can really give back and also like, I don't want to say like benefit, but like you help others and you help yourself.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the main reasons why I came back to Baltimore. And when I got back, I was like, you know, I'm not the Black Sun. Like the Black Sun represented is not what I am anymore. So like the name that came to me was Sun Zulu, and it kind of plays on everything, you know, that's building up to what I am now. So that's why, you know, the name kind of found me.
You answered my follow-up question, man. That's even dope.
That was dope.
You took care of it.
I can't see it, by the way, so yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what led you to leaving Baltimore? Was it a certain instance, or like when you came back, you felt like you outgrew it?
Well, things are so much different now than then, and it's kind of crazy for me to say that because then, well, first off, like the main venue back then was like the Sonar, and that's completely gone. You know what I'm saying? And there really weren't too many other outlets for artists to express themselves, and people were like really disjointed. But now it's a little bit different, you know. But back then, that's the main reason I left. I felt like I wasn't getting support. You know what I mean? And there really were no outlets for me to really get this, you know, my message out to the people that in the way that needs to be. As a matter of fact, there's a City Paper article. You know, the City Paper, not the Sun, the City Paper. There's a writer. His name's Al Shipley. And he did an article, and Landis Expandis. He was on the front cover of the paper. And it was an article about the internet, that quote-unquote internet culture. This was like 2009. Okay. So in that, like, he had my picture, like I'm the main picture, and the title of it was Might Not Make It. And it was about how, you know, this internet culture, like, it's cool, like, these artists are getting this buzz and all that, but, you know, is it sustainable? Like, you know, and that article really probably was like the linchpin for me, because it's like, damn, we're going on tours. Like, we're doing all this stuff. I'm meeting people face to face, kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we were on an Under Armour 3rd Rail Jam, there were kids who came up to us like, yo, you're the Black Sun. Oh, snap. Like, literally, like, I'm listening to you on my iPod and all that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you come home and it's like, might not make it. You know, all that stuff. So it's like, that's kind of how I felt. It was like, let me get away.
Damn, man.
Like, for real.
But you were doing things. I mean, I understand, though. It's kind of hard because you're here and you're getting more acceptance outside of the place where you come from. It's a strange feeling, man. And I have friends that kind of go through the same thing. In terms of music, I'm noticing a theme where you seem to embrace a lot of these Black leaders and people that were at the forefront of helping people.
Right.
And it seems like you're in a culture of helping people.
Right.
Now, and it's almost lending itself to the soul that comes through your music.
Right. Respect.
Right. I appreciate you even doing that. That's important, man, because there's a gap musically between kind of even when late registration came out. Let's go as late as late registration and what's being put out now. How are you connecting those two generations? Because there is a little bit of a gap. And how are you having this legacy? How do you continue it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked me that, because that's something that's a problem that I'm actively working to solve now. Is and more so sonically, like how, because all right, I grew up on that boom bap, all that, like the dopeness, but at the same time, like you can't just keep making the same song over and over and over again. So it's like, and add to that, like what a lot of young people are doing nowadays is really dope, especially like on the production side, sonically of it. What I think that what I'm doing, as Sun Zulu and how it's helping to advance the culture is really bridging the sonics, what people are doing nowadays with the content that's lacking, because it's really lacking. Like people are really stuck in like a zombie kind of spell, you know what I mean? And the whole reason why I call on those things to bring out, that self-determination in people, you know what I mean, is because you need that. You can't party your life away. You can't drink your life. That's what the RZA said. You can't drink your life away. You can't smoke your life away. You can't F your life away, because your kids will grow up the same way. That's really the truth. So that's what I would like to do. I would like to think that I am bridging that gap as far as the content and the sonics.
That's dope, man.
Definitely, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then as far as your influence, as far as what you sample, so I was going through some of the most recent stuff you've been doing. You did like a lot of anime samples. Is that something that influences you a lot?
Okay, so yeah, this year I actually put out 2 beat tapes. So like I put out one that was called The American Native, and that was only on SoundCloud. And I did use a lot of like, I'm glad you picked up on it, for real.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a big anime fan, so.
Yeah, like all that, like those are like my influences growing up. So like with The American Native, I was trying to tell a story, and I had like, vocal clips but with the one I just put out, which is beats, it's more so like a suite. So like each instrumental, it does stand on its own, but you have to listen to it together because it's kind of telling a story, and it's really these influences that I'm getting as far as like, I'll have like a dream one day, you know what I'm saying? And it'll be like this really vivid dream, and I'll just get up and just like, all right, start making the beat. You know what I mean? Like it's really that simple. I don't want to like, make it too complicated, but like I try to go on what moves my spirit and what gives me that frisson, like, those goosebumps. Like if I don't get the goosebumps from it, then it's not going anywhere.
How you feel about the argument that sampling is easier to do than original beats, or doesn't, that the two can express different types of emotions? How do you feel about the idea that it's easier to sample? That
is limiting when you try to place art forms into a box. And I feel that you have to be very talented to sample. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's not as simple as taking someone else's stuff and now saying that it's now yours. You know what I'm saying? You have to have some sort of musical sense. You got to know how to chop, this is what, producers would call it. Like, you have to chop sounds, you know what I'm saying? So like, and before computers, this was all done by ear. You have to know precisely when to cut certain things, or it'll be artifacts in the sound, like clicking, like, and popping, and it won't sound good, you know what I mean? I would say that even on a basic level, like composition, musical composition is about taking other elements and making your own stuff.
Right.
And that's in their own words. When you look at going back to the 1900s, you know, as far as composers, that's what they say music composition is taking other people's elements. So I don't think there's a difference with sampling and live instrumentation. I just think that it's a specialty, and it's just like someone who does metal work compared to someone who screen prints. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're different. It's just different styles. Like, it's really all about the artist. That's how I feel.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I agree. It's hard chopping up samples. I mean, as a person that's attempted to make beats and made beats and put stuff on, like, you know, in places to be sold, and it's hard. It is hard because it's almost like telling a story.
Right.
You have one story through a song, and then you're dissecting it and creating a new one.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I don't know. You got to do it to know, because it's hard. It's like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's just.
But that's the value in it, because, and you're seeing it a lot now more so than in the past. But there are college courses being taught on how to do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely like it's a science. Really, it's really a science. It involves math. You know what I mean? Like, you can really break it down like that, and that's why I see the value in it. And it's interesting that you brought that up, because I was actually recently reading about last year. You ever heard of the producer Madlib?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got sued by Bob James, you know, of Nautilus fame. And it's surprising because Bob James in the past, he's given props to hip hop.
Right.
You know, and he's like, these artists, because of these artists, they've kept my music alive, which is really the number one thing about sampling is it keeps older artists alive. Like, you know what I'm saying? People who have been long forgotten, they're brought back to the front, such as with Kanye and Pastor J.T. Barrett. He, you know, with the song, Father Stretch My Hands, man. Yeah. Like, people didn't know that was a gospel song.
Right.
Like, people ain't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, back to the Madlib thing, he actually sued Madlib for using the Nautilus sample, and he came out and dissed hip hop, which I thought was awkward. You know, and saying that, you know, these guys, they can't afford the training to do, you know, to play live instruments or whatever. So it's like, you know, they got to take my work or whatever. And it's like, well, in that case, first off, Madlib does play instruments. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a great drummer, and he's a lot of different things. But yes, he is partly right. Like, when you look at where hip hop comes from, it comes from an adverse situation where people had nothing and they turned nothing into something. Yeah. So that in and of itself is a miracle. It's something that should be cherished, and it's something that should be passed down to other generations to show people that they have worth, they have value. You know what I'm saying? And they have something to offer the world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think where that whole argument came about is like these older artists, honestly, some of them are just running out of money, and I feel like that's a new way for them to get a little piece of change back in their pocket, because they didn't manage, you know, their money coming through the industry, or got ripped off coming through, and they felt like they're getting ripped off again. So this is their opportunity to clean their work. Yeah. So I think that's, you know, something that they've dealt with, and that's been a battle.
Especially if they're credited for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's so weird. You get money. In this day
and age, labels, they want to work with, they want to clear samples. They have whole units dedicated to sample clearance.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always, to me, it's always something else when someone decides to do that. But it does come down to the bottom line, which is money.
Yeah.
Then
go my bad.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that kind of all started with De La Soul, because you know that's the reason none of their stuff is like on iTunes right now, because they can't get any of their samples cleared. And then I think like maybe like a year and a half ago, they just put all their projects out for free.
And I downloaded
if you signed
the
up for their email. Me too.
It's like, an email with all the
everything
the whole discography. Oh yeah.
I'll take it.
And it's incredible. Yeah, man, because there's groups like, a lot of people don't talk about pop being used, pop doing the same thing. So like two of my favorite groups of all time, Daft Punk and Justice, heavy samplers, heavy. Justice to the point where they can't track some of the samples. They're so fast. Some of them you can't even, if you look at the liner notes, there's like, you'll listen to a song, you hear like maybe 50 sounds. There was only 4 samples credited in that paper. You're like, nah, there's way more samples. You can hear a voice in it or something like that. So it's used in other genres. It's just, for some reason, because it's some wide-nosed people, some brown people, they get a little offended, man. It's a little strange. So.
And if you watch like Ninth Wonder and you watch him like do a sample, he'll chop it up so much that it doesn't sound like the original song at all. So
I think that's
is
really
that the point? Like
when
you reach that point, is it still sampling? Like, are you still taking that song even though you're taking a beat and you're flipping it?
Yeah, I mean, you still are taking elements, but like you were saying, like that. I think that's really where the art of it lies. Well, there are a lot of different techniques. Like you can chop things up and create your own melodies, or you can like loop. You know what I'm saying? So like the most recent project I put out, the very first song on it, it's really a loop. And it's really like, it was like these few seconds I was like, okay, like this is hot, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But there's another track on there where I just completely chopped it up and created my own melody, and you would never know, like if you listen to the original song, that I got it from that song. You know what I mean? So I think it really, at the end of the day, first off, that shows you right there that it's an art form. You know what I'm saying? That it takes some skill to do it. You know what I'm saying? I think people just need to open their minds, man.
Yeah.
They just need to open their minds and be aware that when you put stuff out there, like, that's how music is, period. People are influenced by other people. You know what I'm saying?
And that's okay.
Like,
yeah. It's just, I think that people are getting so uneasy about it lately just because the ability to buy computers, home computers, to sample things, to get, software, and, back in the day it was so manual. You had a break beat, you literally had to control the loop yourself. Now you have wavelengths, you have a waveform, you loop it up, that's your sample. You know what I mean? Like it's changed a lot. And I used to get really offended back in the day just because I was like, man, anybody could pick up Fruity Loops and make a beat. But that's the beauty of it. That really is.
It's not about what you use, it's what you do.
Yeah. Yep. And the skill will come to the light. All the talented people will come to the light. It's not like everybody's eating off this. You know what I mean? Like the talented people do.
Yeah, don't get it mistaken. It is very hard to become, self-sustainable, but that's the beauty of the struggle.
Right.
And honestly, I think it takes away from the fans with, this type of battling, because people like Wiz Khalifa or Frank Ocean, a lot of the songs that they did like on their mixtapes, and they sampled, if they get into a battle with somebody, they can't perform the song live. And if that's your favorite song, you get to miss out on that opportunity because they're having legal issues.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's also where being creative, being a producer comes into play, because you can always get someone to replay, that section. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's one of my favorite albums. A lot of people are kind of hit and miss on it, but Fish Scale by Ghostface.
Okay.
He did a lot of that. He got people. It was like Just Blaze was one of the main producers. He got people to come in and like do the sample, do the samples, play them live. And when you listen to it, you would never know that it came from a sample like that arrangement. You know what I'm saying? So I think the future. And you're kind of already seeing it with like artists like DJ Premier, doing conducting, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the future is really in expanding, making this really like a global thing, but still keeping it hip hop. And the beauty is we could do it right from where we're at, instead of like, I mean, you want to go, like, that's my main aspiration right now. I'm trying to get to Poland, like trying to get everywhere, South Africa, you know what I'm saying? Like everywhere, but you can develop connections with people because of the internet. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is a valuable tool in a lot of what we're doing.
That's really dope, man.
So where's your influence come from? Do you have formal training, or are you all self-taught?
Well, I do have a little background in music. I did take piano lessons growing up. I was in band in middle school, played the trumpet. You
Me too.
Yeah, man. Played the guitar in high school, but my thing, and you probably would think I'm a producer, but like I'm actually an MC first.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like I always gravitated towards like writing rhymes, and making beats was like more out of necessity. So it was like well, I can't get this beat, like let me just make it. You know what I'm saying? And I was actually blessed. I would say my formal training came when I was in high school, because I didn't have an escape, you know, when I was at school. So like when I left school, I would get on the internet and go to the Wu-Tang forum. So it's like on the Wu-Tang forum, they would talk about everything and I would engage them. And like I would just learn from just like watching their conversations, and then going to like the audio. They had a section called the audio lounge or audio booth. I forget what it was. But like I developed connections with those, you know, those producers. And it was like, hey man, like here's the program, you know, here's how you do it. Like here's, you know, and that was my formal training. You know what I'm saying? I learned all from that, I guess you could say. So like I actually because when I was on the Wu-Tang forums, my name was Sun Tzu. And yeah, man, like I actually the other day found like all my old beat tapes and stuff. Like stuff I made when I was like 16, man.
How'd you feel when you listened to it?
Actually, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, I was way more critical on myself in the past than I am now. Now, I'm still critical, but I kind of just accept certain things. Like, you can't be too perfect. You know what I'm saying? Right. But back then, man, I was so critical and hard on myself. But, like, when I go back and listen, it's pretty dope. I do use a lot of techniques that I still use today, such as, like, I guess I'm spilling my secrets here. But so another thing that producers do, sometimes they'll play the drums out live. Sometimes, you know, they'll use beat breaks or you know, loops in that manner. But the one thing I always learned from back in the day was always build the drums first. Build the drums, and then, you know, everything else will work itself out. But like when you try to go from like off the sample first, or you know, this sound, whatever you want to say, the timing gets thrown off, and it's harder to build drums that sound believable. It sounds like really stiff. You know what I'm saying? And,
it feels like it's put into certain places.
Yeah, like you're playing to the sample and you're not playing. Like the drum is the backbone of everything. So I mean, I guess that's why it's always been linked to any dark culture around the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow. I that's a really good technique, doing the beat doing the drums first.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, sometimes I will like fall in love with a sample, you know, chopping it up and do it like that. But it never fails that when you know, when it comes time to do the drums, when you do it that way, it just don't sound right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a firm believer in getting the drums right first before anything else.
Gotcha. Who are your favorite producers?
Oh man, that's Madlib, of course. You know what I'm saying? The RZA, a lot of Wu elements actually. So like Fourth Disciple. You know what I'm saying? Or it's so many. It's so many producers, man. Kanye, of course. You know what I mean? Really, anything that's gonna give me that frisson. Yeah. So anything that's you know, that give me that frisson, and you know. And it really starts with the drums. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Like, because you just know right off the bat. You don't even gotta talk about it. You just know. You know what I mean? So, but I would definitely say Pete Rock. You know what I'm saying? The new generation, I love Metro Boomin. Like, I love what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Dope,
Metro Boomin want some money.
It's a lot of Burberry Perry. Which is he's a dude who does a lot of beats for Lil Yachty.
Okay.
So like, yeah. So like, there's a lot of dope producers. Even in Baltimore, there's a dude. His name is U4. He's actually he's really dope. I kind of just got put on to him. It's a dude. His name is damn. Why is his name escaping me? You gotta forgive me. He goes by Dre. Dre Mill. He used to go by Dre Mill. I think his name Dre Lax now.
Yeah, I think I met him before.
Yeah. Like he does a lot of stuff with Al Rogers.
Okay. And I met him through Ryan Lyons.
Yeah, Ryan. That's the dude. Yeah, that's the homie, man.
Years ago, I met him through, Arcieri Kness, and you ever heard of him?
I have.
Yeah. So my cousin Tizzy, Arcieri, and like 2 other people formed a group pretty recently.
Okay.
And I met Ryan like years ago.
Word.
Yeah, man, he's an amazing human being.
Yeah, man,
super cool.
He's always
real down
grinding. Yeah.
Yeah. Super into like connecting people too, which I think. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of really so interesting. You bring up Kanye. I think Kanye did something that I hadn't really heard prior to him producing, like the long form rap song. That wasn't really a thing in the mainstream like that. There weren't 7-minute, 8-minute, 10-minute rap songs prior to him in the mainstream.
Word.
And I think there's something he never gets credit.
I would disagree.
Okay,
I would disagree because and I'll go back to Wu-Tang.
Oh yeah.
Wu-Tang did with Triumph in 1997 was first.
That song is incredible.
Yeah, the song is incredible in and of itself, but it's a long ass track.
It's a long ass track.
Well, there's like 47 people in the thing, so you know you
no
go
chorus. It's just straight MCing, and it went platinum. You know what I'm saying?
That's an amazing song.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, you're right. There were, but I guess
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
there weren't many. Like that's kind of where our music started from, like longer songs.
Yeah,
right.
And then as time sped up, our music got shorter, and we went from like 8-minute songs down to 2-minute songs.
It's interesting you say that because that is something that I have noticed about music history. Because first off, it does kind of all come from the disco, from getting people together, and those kind of things. They have to have like 15-minute songs and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep the groove going and all that. But I have noticed that as time has gone on, songs have gotten shorter, and we kind of are in an age. First, it was like the ringtone. I guess you call it ringtone kind of age. It's kind of transitioning into something else. But like songs are so short now. Like it's just like 1 or 2 verses maybe.
You're lucky if you get a 3-minute song. You're lucky for real. It's like that's why Now I remember when Illmatic came out and it was less than an hour. I was like, that's the shortest album. Right. Everybody's album is short like that, and they don't have like 15 tracks on there. Right. And it still wound up being an hour 10 minutes.
I think it's just the way people consume music, and that's kind of what with the instrumental suite that I just put out. That's I kind of kept that in mind.
Okay.
Because I wanted people to listen to it, and I wanted them to listen to everything, but like still keep their attention. You know what I'm saying? So like I felt like 20 minutes, like these 11 tracks, it can you're not gonna get to the point where like I want to go to the next song. You're gonna listen to the whole thing through. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not that long, but it's interesting enough, and it has such a meaning behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because of that. And I think that it really is up to the artist now. So like as an artist, producer, whatever whoever you are, you really got to think about your audience. You know what I mean? Like it beyond yourself. Once it leaves you, who's listening to it, and how they're receiving it. Because also like streaming, like that's really a big thing. People don't even necessarily own music anymore. Like physically.
And that's the crazy thing that runs through my mind a lot of times. And with you not being able to own your music, that's why I still like to get physical copies of artists that I really like to listen to at times. They can take it off at any time that they want. Right. Or put it back on any time that they want, and you don't have access to it. Yeah, and that to me, that's kind of, I don't necessarily agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Because at least the way I kind of grew up and the way I understand albums, it's a moment in time. So like when you talk about like an Illmatic, or you talk about College Dropout, I remember the exact moment when College Dropout came out. I was a freshman in high school. It was the Target right across from Callaway. I kept telling, it was this friend I had, I kept telling him, yo, Kanye West is gonna be the biggest thing. He was like, who is Kanye West? And like I remember going over there the day it dropped and getting it. You know what I'm saying? That's when it had the pink cover, like when it was still pink. You know what I'm saying? So like, to me, albums are a moment in time that's frozen. You know what I'm saying? And that's the value of a project like that. So going back and changing things after its release is kind of...
You don't like that? Nah. I think for what it is, I think for that particular moment, the problem is...
I understand it, but I don't like it.
It's strange. It's a strange thing, man. Especially, it's not only that it changed... It's that it changed as many times as it did.
Right.
It wasn't even because all right, you had a version of a song that you wanted to polish a little bit,
right?
And maybe you want to refresh 5 songs, but the fact that you got hit up every week or so, and you're like, okay, so this version, he said something different than this part. They changed it.
You sit there and you try and listen to it, and then
that's
the thing is, with music, you get attached to whatever you hear for whatever reason.
Yes.
Maybe something happened to you that day, or you were with a person and that song becomes your attachment. So when it gets changed, it changes that feeling.
Right. But I think it really is all a reflection of the time that we're living in and the way we consume music, because they want to get people, and when I say they, I mean like really, I'm gonna just say like Vivendi. So like they're the ones who really, they own Universal, they own all these companies. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're the ones really dictating. Like we gotta stream it. Them Apple, you know what I'm saying? Like we want people to subscribe, the whole subscription model, all that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's where you get this like, oh, let's do like. You have artists talking about dropping playlists now. They don't even say album. I'm dropping playlists. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like I just see the value in owning a moment in time that you can revisit and those memories from that moment. Because it's not only a moment in time from the artist, it's your life. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like when you hear that stuff, you instantly like just go right back to what you were doing, like you were saying. You know what I mean? So
and like owning a physical copy and looking through the books and reading the credits, it gives you a different feeling. And then the element of sharing the music with somebody, that's kind of taken away.
Yeah. And that's actually what I plan on doing with my next project. And I'm not going to say too much about it. All I'm going to say is that I want people to be able to stream it, you know what I'm saying, consume it that way, but I want you to really buy it. I want you to like hold it in your hands, you know what I'm saying, and see the value in it and see the art for what it is and what it's saying, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna last. Like we're still digging up, artifacts with people's writings, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff. Right. Like how are we gonna remember stuff on a computer once the infrastructure is gone? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
even if it does somehow survive, which like how future societies may not know how to work it, how to or it may have degraded to a point where, because I mean, do you even still have your computers from like 4 or 5 years ago? Nah, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't. Yeah, man, the internet is a new thing for mainstream. It's super new. I tell you how I know that. I worked at Apple for like 4 years, and I realized that like while I was there, that people still, it doesn't matter how things adapt for like us, the younger generation, that doesn't matter. The majority of people are older people. The consumers obviously are younger at first. Yeah, right. But you're talking about the people that fund these products, the people that buy these products for these people have to understand them in order to buy them a lot of the times.
And which they don't.
Yeah, they don't. So it's going to take a little while to transition. That gap is a thing, but it's not going to happen as fast as people think. And then things about like internet etiquette is very new too. Like people don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to conduct themselves online. They don't know how to conduct business online. It's all very new for people. Why else would somebody be like, "Fuck my job"? On Facebook, you know what I mean? Like, why would you?
The stuff that I've seen online is crazy.
It's crazy, man.
So like, but don't get me wrong. Like, there is a value, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the internet. Right. You know what I mean? So there is a value to the internet. I just think that, and that's the challenge. Artists like myself, we have to figure out how to bridge that gap so that you don't shut the internet completely out, but you connect. The physical to the internet. Right. You know what I mean? So.
That's a good goal, and I'm curious to see how you do it, man. I'm super curious. Yeah. So when it's all said and done, what do you want the legacy of Sun Zulu to be, man?
When it's all said and done, I want people to say that Sun Zulu, what he stood for, the messages in his music, they brought people together. They help to develop a self-determination in people that may otherwise not have, got it from any other source. You know what I'm saying? And I just want people to enjoy the music. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of good stuff that I have that I've kind of been sitting on because that's one of the main reasons I went to Chicago was to work on the album.
Okay.
And I've been working on that album for the past 4 years, and it's done. You know, I got the videos. I just gotta get it out there, and a large part of getting it out there is the platform and interest. Right. So, like that's why I'm so grateful for you guys to have me on your show.
Man, look,
you know what I mean?
I appreciate you coming on.
So, you know, reading your bio, a lot of what you touched on is like feeling like an outcast, and you know, telling that story through your music. What made you feel like an outcast, and do you still feel that way now?
Well, I do actually still feel that way. A lot of my feelings, you know, as far as being an outcast, came from, you know, my Calvert experience and all that. Today, I would say more so, and I would never have thought I would have said this. Like, I'm older now. I'm 27. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting to be like, yo, I already made those mistakes I see you making, like, you know, just observing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got time for that now, but like, there's no one else really on that level, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I give you guys props, because like, you instantly got what I'm trying to do, you know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of connection that I'm looking to make with my music with other people who consider themselves like on the fringes of what society is telling you should do.
Right. Oh, man.
And I think doing this, we've heard that a lot, but it's because of our experiences. We are artists, and we've done, you know, a lot of different things. We both have, you know, background in music. I went to school for fine art, and obviously I do clothing now. So I have, you know, different aspects that I've gone through in life and different phases I've gone through in life. So I know how to touch on different things, and I'm pretty sure Ron can speak to that too. So I think that's, you know, really important for, you know, our guests, and understanding them, understanding what they do.
Word. Yeah, man. And I think I will say this, like, don't get me wrong when I say it too, because I do see the value in school, but school is not for me. You know what I'm saying?
It's not for everybody.
Wrong with that, man.
And I feel like a lot of the people who really appreciate what I'm saying, they have that spirit, that self-determination, that I want to do this. I want to go out there and get the experience and do it myself, you know, and build my own thing, you know what I'm saying? And not be in a structure that's telling you, if you don't do it the way we tell you to do it, if you don't regurgitate the information back to us, then you're worthless. You know what I'm saying? And that's not true. That's not, like, schools the way we know them didn't even exist, you know, like 200 years ago. You know what I'm saying? 100 years ago. So it's like, as long as you're determined to learn and better yourself and better your art, whatever it may be, I think that I'll connect with you, you know, and you'll find something in what I'm doing.
Man. That's pretty incredible. Man. I'm kind of overwhelmed with how good your message is, man. It's dope, man, because it's inclusive, it's ambitious, and reasonable at the same time. I don't think there's anything that you've said that feels impossible to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's all within, it feels a lot closer than you might think, man. Like, you know, you reaching that goal of that level of self-expression and reaching the people that you want to reach. It sounds a lot closer than you might think.
Word. So I appreciate those words.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah. And then I guess before we wrapped up, the last thing that I saw that I wanted to touch on, you mentioned that you have a scar.
Oh, word. Oh, snap. Yeah, y'all really got, Debonair does their job. Most definitely,
so what's the story behind that, and how did that, you know, shape you?
Okay, well, I'm showing y'all, like, the scars right here.
Okay.
But, so I think, like, that probably was, and, you know, I was speaking more so as, you know, from my adult perspective, but if I were to psychoanalyze myself, you know what I'm saying, like, that probably was the start of my feelings of feeling like kind of being a black sheep, because you know, I got this scar when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and it was my cousin. Like, my cousin was riding a bike, and I don't know if you ever remember those little Flintstone cars where it was like yellow tops with the orange bottoms.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I was in one of those, and I got out, And I remember it vividly. Like I started running, and then like just I got hit and like blacked out, and it was like the front of the front cover of the wheel on the bike like slashed into me, and I needed like I remember I blacked out. I woke up in the ambulance. My mother was crying and all that. Blacked out again. Woke up in the emergency room, when they're stitching me up, feeling the pain, like, what the like, I remember that. I'm like 2 or 3 years old, I remember the pain.
Right.
And
Jesus.
it's like, that kind of just made me feel like, for whatever reason, people always got something against me. Something, you know what I mean? And maybe that has played out, in my life, but that's why I make music. That's one of the main reasons why music is, my tool of expression. Because I feel like I can get that feeling out of that being misunderstood. Like, this is what I'm about. This is really what I'm about. This is what what it is. Yeah.
Cool. That's what's up, man. And then what we always like to do, Ron kind of touched on it a little bit towards the end. We kind of ask some favorite questions towards the artist, like what they like, and try and give it a little bit more background about what they like. So,
As
far as reading, you said you were a big fan of Nelson Mandela. Is there anything that you have like a favorite book right now?
Well, right now, let's see. I'm more into abstract things right now, so more so like history and learning. I actually just got a book about the Olmec civilization.
Okay.
So I'm studying about the Olmecs. Always reading about the universe, you know what I'm saying, quantum physics, all that kind of stuff. Right. So yeah, the book I have is called The Land of the Olmecs or something like that. So yeah,
and I think that's important too. And what you said, school isn't for everybody. We have tools to learn outside of school. Exactly. We can read. We got the internet now, so that's important for us to do as individuals.
It's the biggest library. It's the biggest library ever. You know what I mean? That's anime. What's your favorite anime?
Oh man.
Okay, so 2 questions. Man. What's your favorite anime and what are you currently watching?
Okay.
New anime. So tell me old stuff and tell me new stuff, because I'll tell you 2 things I'm watching.
My top 3 of all time: Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay.
Dope.
Of course, Dragon Ball Z.
Obviously, that's like
gotta have Dragon Ball Z in there. But I would say Trigun.
Okay.
Either Trigun or Cowboy Bebop, one of the 2.
I love Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop.
But Trigun, I really felt like that had a dark. I'm really into storylines. Like if the action doesn't necessarily have to be there, but storylines are really what get me. At one point, I was watching Death Note. You know what I mean?
Death Note is might be one of my favorites of all time, only because I've never had such a tense experience watching something.
Right. Well, Inuyasha maybe.
Yeah,
But I know exactly what you're saying,
man. Just him trying to figure out who was doing it, and Netflix is making an original, like an American Death Note.
Oh no,
I wonder how it's gonna be.
Yes,
I'm kind of worried about American remix after Battle Royale. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, like
Battle Royale.
I was really
so good.
I was really into the manga.
Okay,
of Battle Royale, because at the time, I was still a teenager, so it's like, this graphic novel, like where it's like you have to be an adult and all that, and it's like and it's I don't know. Have you ever read it at least?
No, I've seen the first movie like 20 times.
Yeah, like
the second one is trash, but the first one,
the manga is it's worse.
Another level.
Really?
It is worse. Like but the story of it is what hooked me in. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question as far as what I'm looking at now, I'm actually I haven't looked at anything recently. Someone keeps trying to get me to look at DB Super.
Okay.
But I'm not too sure. I'm revisiting. Don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball, but I just been hearing so many mixed reviews of it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually kind of open to finding something with a deep storyline that's still. But I did watch a movie. Does that count?
Yeah, it counts.
Okay, it's called 8 Man After. 8 Man After. It's actually an older anime. Okay. It's from 1990, early 1990s.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's a good story. It has basically there's a guy who he's a detective, and he assumes he gets into some tragic incident that happens where he's killed, but he comes back as a cyborg and he's a superhero. But it's like the brooding kind of Batman thing where he's not really a superhero. He's really worried about his own interests, and you gotta see it for yourself, man.
Check it out.
It's actually on YouTube, like hasn't been taken down, which is surprising. You know,
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
You ever watch One Punch Man?
No, but I know all about it.
Bruh. Yeah. I think you're like that. I'm watching this one called 91 Days. It takes place in the Prohibition era.
Okay.
This kid, his whole family gets murdered by a gangster in the Prohibition era, and he grows up and kind of assimilates into this group, and they don't know who he is, and he plans on killing the guy that killed his parents. It's really good.
Yeah, like you said 91 days?
91 days.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. So,
but
yeah.
Any other questions? I'm waiting.
Favorite top three Wu-Tang albums. Okay, all right, so we're gonna exclude the people, the individual, the solo albums. We'll do those first. Okay, so first we're gonna do top three Wu-Tang albums.
So
and then Wu albums. And then you tell me the top three solo joints.
Okay, well of course 36 Chambers.
Okay.
Wu-Tang Forever. And I don't know, that last one's kind of throw up. You could put the W in there.
W is
yeah.
People sleep on the W and the Iron Flag. I really
Iron Flag okay, but the W.
They have a couple singles on the Iron Flag, but W was really good.
Yeah.
What about solo joints?
Solo, okay. Liquid Swords is probably my all-time favorite album.
That album is incredible, man.
Yeah, Liquid Swords really, as far as like a narrative, telling a story but still being entertaining and music, like that's like the pinnacle for me. Of course, Return to 36 Chambers, just because Old Dirty, his spirit, his personality,
right,
and Only Built for Cuban Links.
Okay,
those three, I would say, are probably like the top.
So you're a Ray fan.
Yeah.
My favorite Ray song is so random. Frozen, Slick Rick featuring Raekwon is my favorite guest appearance from Raekwon.
Okay.
I fucking love that beat. I love how Raekwon rhymes. He kills everything.
Word.
But yeah, it's...
Actually, I love Ghostface too. Don't get me wrong. Like,
do you like...
If we were doing top 5, the rest would be Ghostface,
Ghostface?
Yeah.
What's your favorite Ghostface albums?
Supreme Clientele and Iron Man.
Iron Man
Fish Scale and More Fish. Well, More Fish is alright.
Yeah.
But he got Bulletproof Wallace, man. Like it's so many dope albums that he has.
Yeah. I don't know how I felt about the one that he did with Adrian Young. Like I was like, I love Adrian Young.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I was like,
shout out to Adrian Young.
Yeah, it's like
36 Ways to Die. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something right now that the Wu, and all due respect when I say this, but they still trying to find themselves at the ODB was like the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So it's
that
like
connecting energy.
Yeah, like they still trying to find like symmetry. I think they got something good going, like with this live, because the instruments on that album are amazing.
Right.
Like the instrumentals, and that only comes from like the knowledge that RZA has. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Banks and Stills, I wasn't. No. And that's all due respect to the RZA.
I got you. Yeah, he's busy, man. He's doing a lot of stuff right now. Combined with making an album, just seems like it'd be a little bit of a distraction.
I think for RZA, he's a lot better producer than he is a rapper. But at that same time, I gain respect for him as a rapper because of the technique that he uses. Once I learned how poetry works.
Oh, word.
So like. I think on Triumph, he uses like iambic pentameter to start his verse off. That's certain techniques that a lot of rappers don't even know about. Yeah. So just learning those aspects, that's why I gained my respect for him.
Word, man. Did you listen to Lupe's Tattoo on Youth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy album.
Man, I could talk to you about Lupe.
Man.
Oh, damn day. I think he's one of the most underrated lyricists.
Yeah, he is.
Man, his mixtapes, his albums... Even he
actually was a trailblazer in mixtapes, like before, around the same time as Lil Wayne. Everyone gave credit to Lil Wayne for it was a lot
of other people in that area they carried that flag for that mixtape era.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, people don't talk about Joe Budden. I know people. He's developed, but he can rhyme. That A-Rap music joint that he just did.
I know you talking
solid.
About. Yeah, it's great.
That album is solid, and that. I think it just took him finding a producer that like to chop stuff up. It's like a really good producer.
The thing is, like with that, he spent 100% of his time with A-Rap. Like they would like live in the same house, so they would, you know, from like dating. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had a different connection than
that's
any
where
other
the best
person
music come from, man.
Yeah,
that's definitely.
Alchemist works like that too. And he's like, if you working with him, you gotta stay with him. You gotta like be with him for like hours, you know, a couple weeks, and he'll chef up something. I love Currency Alchemist stuff, by the way. How you feel about Currency?
Currency is dope. My friend, I have a friend who his name is he has a brand called ZTV. His name's Mark.
Okay,
but,
that's my man.
yeah, man. We went to middle school together.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's like the biggest Currency fan.
Yeah, definitely.
He's like, I mean, I felt like when him and Wiz were doing their thing, like they was like, I felt like they could have been like a real duo, but they never put an album, like a serious album out. You know,
that live at the concert joint that they did. Oh my! It was just straight loops. It was no samples, just straight loops, and they were killing it. I like them.
Yeah, Currency's one of my favorite. I've been to a few of his shows.
Word.
I think the last one that I got for you is top 3 groups.
Ooh.
Top 3 groups. Well, of course, Wu-Tang. You know, Tribe Called Quest. They're actually coming out with a new album.
Yeah.
November 11th.
That's
pretty dope.
Child reference.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. And the last group, I would guess it's a toss-up between Mobb Deep and
Jesus Christ.
We're talking about hip-hop, right?
Yeah. Mobb Deep's a good pick.
Yeah, I'll put Mobb Deep. Yeah, Mobb Deep.
Mobb Deep's a really good pick.
And
so
since everybody's listening, I have a shirt that says "Boat on No Jack" on.
Mobb Deep's definitely one of my favorites.
I mean, if you're just talking like albums, like top 3 hip hop albums, like I would still say Liquid Swords.
Okay.
I will also say Raz Kass, Soul on Ice.
Okay.
And Killer Priest, Heavy Mental.
Okay.
Like those 3 albums just made me.
Is that Killer Priest's first one?
Yep.
Yes, I remember listening to that.
Yeah, man, that album is ridiculous. He has a song. It's the title track where it's just him rapping over it's the Aboriginal instrument from Australia. The I can't remember the name of it.
Bassoon?
No, it's like a dun something.
Okay. Didgeridoo?
Didgeridoo, yeah. It's someone playing didgeridoo, and he's just rhyming over it. But he what he's saying is so deep, man.
That's dope.
And it flows. Like I think that's the one thing. If you got a good flow, it doesn't matter. You could be saying gibberish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if your flow is good, like people will eat it up. And and you might think this is crazy when I say this. I don't think what people want to call mumble rap, I don't think they have good flow, yo.
They don't.
I agree.
Like I really think it's for lack of a better word, garbage. Like with the way people are doing things now, like they don't have no flow and no content. You know what I'm saying? It's just
so crazy. I have a theory about mumble rap. I think
I'll speak on that after you're done.
I think it's a bastardized. So if you listen, Lollipop, we talked about this. Lollipop was one of the first main. So we need to talk about media. So I'm a media study, man. I'm a media major, and what happens a lot of the times with that stuff is like one thing happens, and then there's like a ripple effect, right? So when the auto-tune mumble thing happened with like Lollipop as a mainstream, the remix with Kanye West came out, right?
Yeah.
What year was that?
What year was that?
Was that 08?
Yeah, let's track
I think it's 08.
Cause I got something that's probably gonna blow your mind, man.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I guess on a mainstream level, that was the first time that people were hearing that sort of like you couldn't hear every word that was being said. You know what I mean? And it was on beat, but a lot of what we're hearing is like bastardized versions of Lil Wayne's flow. A lot of it.
Do you remember Ryan Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah.
The mumble song.
The gibberish song.
Yeah.
Gibberish.
That song is incredible.
I think, to me, that's what everyone got from it.
It sounds like it.
This joint right here.
Yeah. That's a great song.
Like he's saying absolutely nothing.
Right.
It's hot.
Yeah. It sounds amazing.
But the thing is, like, that's always been a part of music. Like back in the day, you had like scat music, which you know it really wasn't a language.
Yo, you're right.
Yeah.
You are 100%
But the thing
right.
is,
I never thought of that.
Yeah, we don't have any balance right now. I think that's what the issue is. Like we get 90% of the mumble rap, but we don't get that much content anymore. Like you don't get Kendrick on the radio that often. You might get a J. Cole song in between like the 8 other songs. And then you just get bombarded with that, repetitive music, and you don't get to go through any range of emotion.
Right.
That's why when you hear somebody like Young M.A., who's doing basically doing.
I had this conversation with
like a version of hip hop that we heard a couple years ago, which isn't even like, okay. So understand what I'm saying when I say this.
I already know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Not the best version of that type of rhyming. It's still.
It falls in that same lane as Bobby Shmurda. Better than Bobby Shmurda to me. But yes, you're absolutely right. And I missed that. I feel like if that song and All the Way Up, if they came out like that 08 range, like they would have been way bigger.
Triple platinum?
Yeah, because right now they're arguably one of the best songs out, but that time I think they would have been.
But stuff is so disposable. I mean,
it is.
Just last year everyone was talking about Fetty Wap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
What happened to Fetty Wap? Yo, and don't get me wrong, man. If he comes back with a single that's great, God bless him, man. But
I think the thing is, like, people with like, you gotta stay in your lane. You're not really an album person, in my opinion. Like, you're good at doing hooks, you're good at doing singles, but trying to produce full projects is harder for you to do and get people to buy into it.
Right.
You know who's dope that sings? Dram.
Yeah, actually, I do like his album. I do like
that album is some goddamn fire. Have you heard it?
I haven't listened to it, but
I'm not even playing. Like, it's a fusion of rap and singing, and he does it so well.
I'm gonna give you a challenge though.
Okay.
Because and I'm probably gonna have to bounce soon.
Okay.
But there's a song on there called Cash Machine.
Yeah.
I want you to go and check out the stuff that I did as the Black Sun with 810.
Okay.
It's 810 because 810 has a song called Payday.
Okay.
Just listen to Payday and listen to Cash Machine. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, okay, definitely.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Follow up on that conversation in social media. So, if you listen to it, give us some feedback, tweet us, email us, whatever, and we'll have a conversation about it post-podcast.
Yeah.
And since we're on that note, where can people reach you?
Okay, so my website is thesunzulu.com, and social media, that's pretty much everything. It's The Sun Zulu. On Twitter, I am Sun_Zulu, but everything else is pretty much The Sun Zulu.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as far as our stuff, Debonair Material is the Instagram. Deb Material is the Twitter, because you can't put the full name in Twitter. For the podcast, you can email us, branded BRNDD at debonairmaterial.com. Debonair Material is the website for the brand. Ron, what can they reach you at?
Ron is Unthawed on everything. I need to make a website, bro. I'm feeling real get that done. Like a dinosaur.
Hey, Squarespace, if you sponsor the podcast, we'll do the website.
Oh, yeah. So that's where I am. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, man.
No doubt.
It's been informative. It's been a healthy conversation about music.
Likewise.
It's a little bit of everything, man.
This is actually probably the longest one that we've done so far.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy, because I was thinking the one with Harrison was pretty long. But that's dope, man. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No doubt, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Oh, yeah, and I do have a project out now. It's called Oyoi. It means 1 year open eye, and it's an instrumental suite. So, if you're listening, please check it out. It's dope. It's 11 tracks, and it'll help you find some inner peace if you feel like you're lacking that, or even if you have it, it'll add to it. So yeah, check it out.
Cool. Peace.